Hello, this is Tim Stutler. Welcome to a Goodlettsville Church production. Here in the fall of 2022, my wife and I had the joy of traveling to Israel. It was the first time that we were ever able to go. We traveled with Clayton King Ministries, with Clayton and Shari King, and 16 people from the Southeast United States. We had an incredible time. Our tour guide was Cyril Bar David of Yad Hashmanah Guest House. He was extraordinary. And so what I did, I filmed each one of these stops, filmed what he had to say, and we wanted to share those with you. We're calling this series The Lay of the Land. I hope that you enjoy it. Welcome to another chapter of The Lay of the Land. This week we leave Jerusalem and we go to the Dead Sea. There's a mountain near the southern part of the Dead Sea called Masada. It's an incredible fortress that was built by the Hasmoneans. It was reinforced and made much stronger, much more elegant by Herod the Great. And it was the last place that the children of Israel were when the Romans were trying to defeat them. It's the last holdout. It was a magnificent place, one of my favorite places to visit in all of Israel. There was a mini-series about it in the 1980s. From that time on, I could not wait to visit, and I finally got to go. Today, I take you there with our guide, Cyril Bar David. I hope that you enjoy Masada.
Before that, we see the mountain. Okay, this is the mountain that is called Masada. And this is where later on we're going to climb up and we're going to visit. Now, the story of Masada, as I said, starts before Herod already with the Jewish dynasty that were called the Hasmoneans. And they probably had some kind of a small military base because it was also a kingdom, okay? They had a royal family, they had a king, they had an army, they had enemies, of course, at the backside of the Jordan River, at the Jordan Valley, behind the Dead Sea, down south, the Edomians and so on. So they needed to protect their borders. And Masada is actually the border of normally the kingdoms that were here one after the other. Also during Herod's time, that was also the border of his kingdom towards the east. So you want to have a military base to control that region. You will see when we'll be up there, you can see very far away, you can see the Dead Sea below you, you can see some roads that were crossing nearby. So when Herod, when he fights his way. Remember, I said a few days ago that Herod wasn't originally from the Jewish dynasty of the royal family. He wasn't from the Hasmoneans. His father had a very high, very, very high position in that kingdom as like an advisor of one of those kings of the Hasmoneans. And when wars, this Jewish dynasty, they fought one against the other. Remember, they started well against the Greeks in order to get rid of from the Greeks. But when they were able to throw the Greeks out of here, then they turned to be kings. They were no kings before. They were not a royal family before. They were just a family of priests, normal family. Suddenly they were leading the revolt. They won. Now they put themselves as kings. And for 100 years, they were fighting between themselves. Every time there will be a pair of brothers, and each one of them would like to be the future king. They would fight. And then another pair of brothers, and so on. And Herod is growing beside that royal family, parallel to them, with his own father. He grows and he gains more and more control under his father, until he take the advantage, in a sense, when there is like a chaotic situation between the brothers and others and so on. And he starts also to lead an army in order to try and gain control. When that happens, actually he loses. He loses in that battle, and he runs for his life from Jerusalem with his soldiers, with his mother also. They escaped Jerusalem. And remember Herodium that I was pointing at when we were looking at Bethlehem, the place where he built? Back then there was nothing still at Herodium, but when he ran for his life, his mother's chariot is flipping over. He was sure that she is dead. He loved his mother, I guess, very, very much. He goes on with the rest of the people that he has all the way down to the desert and eventually to Masada. So he gets here to Masada. Remember, it's not yet a palace or anything famous. It's just a mountain with probably a small military base up there that he was able to get there and stay there. So he feels protected on top of the mountain. He leaves his people over there and he ran away actually from Masada, where to? To Rome. All the way to Rome. And over there in Rome, he goes and he says, listen, I would serve you, Rome, if you would let me be the future king of Judah. I mean, I'll do everything you want, and I will give you all the money you want, and everything will be fine if I will be your greatest supporter, in a sense. They tell him, fine, go back to Judah with our support, okay? And you can become the future king of Judah. So he comes back, he returns from Rome with a new army, actually, and he's able to take over. And this is the moment that he turned to be during the 30s of the 1st century BC, he turns to be the local king of Judah. When that happens, he starts to fortify and build all over his kingdom. And one of the spots that he remembered that was very, very important was Masada. So he said, okay, I'm going to take this mountain and I'm going to turn this mountain into a very, very, very strong fortress, together with a beautiful palace where I can go and stay whenever I like. And he does the same thing in quite many places in the land, in his kingdom. So he built fortresses all over. Why? Always, if I will be in a run, if I need to run away to save my life, I can go to Jericho, I can go to Samaria, I can go to Masada, I can go to Herodium that was built, all those fortresses together with palaces. So this is exactly what he is doing in Masada, and this is the archaeological site, as I said, that we're going to see later on, just to understand the power again of this kingdom and this king. Now, 70 years later, as I said, 70 years later, we deal with the Great Revolt, and there is a group of people that are running for their lives, basically, hiding up there on top of the mountain. These are rebels, probably fanatic, extreme zealots, okay? Radical, I would say, the most radical rebels that you can find. When I say radical, they are so radical that they are even willing to fight against other Jews and kill them if needed. But slowly, more and more rebels from other places start to join them because cities and villages are falling one after the other. So it's a place where you can escape to, and still there is a Jewish residence, in a sense, presence, and climbing up there. Rome, the Roman legions, they destroy Jerusalem and then they march over here. This is the last place. After towns, villages, cities, the temple, everything is destroyed. Now they march their army, they send their army all the way to Masada. You can see the northern side of the mountain. The mountain is pointing to us. It's like we always say, it looks like a battleship in a sense. You see the front is facing us to the north and it points south and it looks east and west. Notice that from the eastern side, it's the highest side. I mean, to climb from the Dead Sea would be over here, okay? To climb from the Dead Sea, it's the hardest. Now, if you are a Roman officer, okay, and you are leading here, I don't know, 4,000 soldiers, 5,000 soldiers, maybe 6,000 soldiers, and I would tell you, listen, you need to take over this mountain. This mountain is surrounded with the wall up at the top. Although there are cliffs all over, there is the wall. There are about 38 towers all around that. It is very well protected. Which side would you choose in order to climb up there? The back side, which is the western side. Why? It's the closest to the peak, right? And this is exactly what the Romans are doing. They locate, first of all, they build a siege camp around the mountain. Look at the model, you see that there is a line that is running all around the mountain. You see there is a line? Mm-hmm. It's a real thing that is out there. It's a pile of stones that they build a wall, something like maybe, we were not sure, maybe, 4 or 5 feet high, circle the entire mountain. And putting camps, notice if you follow that line, for example, over here in the corner, you see there is like a square. and also on the top there is a square, and also there is a square. So they putting those army bases in a sense around it with the walls surrounding the whole thing, so no one can enter and no one can escape. And also to protect them if suddenly rebels are attacking from up at the top, they are at night coming or something, so they are protected with those walls and guards and so on. They start to build a ramp, putting dirt at the western side of the mountain, piling this dirt. You need to create a road, okay, all the way up. Why do you need to have a road? Because you have war machines. When you need to push a huge tower, which is something like 30 feet high, okay, on big wheels, wooden wheels, and you need to have this heavy battering ram in it, you need to have a good solid ramp that is built in a very, very accurate way. It's not just piling dirt and stones because it would never work. You need to have your engineers in the army, okay, that they will plan the whole thing. And eventually they were building that ramp. How long did it take them? Any guess? If you would visit here 10 years ago, they will tell you 3 years. Okay? These days they already speak about 1.5 months to 3 months. This is how fast they were doing that.
Wow.
Yeah. And then they took the war machines all the way to a gate that was located at the western side of the mountain, and with the battering ram that was placed in that tower, they start to hit the gate. Of course, the rebels, they try to shoot arrows, they try to throw torches, they try to roll over stones. You will see those stones that are placed up on top of the mountain, round, big, like basketball stones that they would try to roll down the ramp to hit, soldiers. But according to Josephus, that he's the one that described the whole thing, he's the only one, by the way, that writes over this battle here in Masada. He says that the Romans were placing war machines down below the ramp, shooting those big spears, and small stones, it's in the size of an orange. They would shoot them all the way to the gate, this western gate in the mountain where they were pushing their war machines up towards that. And any guard or any so-called Jewish soldier that would stand up there would immediately be killed. His head will be cut off from those arrows and spears and stones that were flying all the time, kind of protecting their own war machines that they are pushing up the mountain. The rebels are up there. They are led by a fanatic, I would say, guy called Elazar, son of Yair, and he's the one that gathered his men when they see that the battle is about to be finished. The Romans are able to break through the walls and through the gate in that side. They try to stop them. The Romans go back to their camp at night, and he says, "Listen, everyone, there is no hope, basically. Tomorrow they are about to enter this mountain. They're about to enter this fortress. We won't be able to do anything. These are trained soldiers. We know exactly what will happen tomorrow when the Roman soldiers would enter. What does it mean? They will rape our wives. They will take us and execute us men, and they will take our children and send them all over Rome as slaves. Let's kill ourselves. Let's kill ourselves. There is no point to try to stay alive those next few hours." And the people, they are not very happy, I would say, with that thought. But still, he uses more words to convince them that this is what will happen. And eventually they are convinced, and they said, okay, each man will go and kill his own family. We're speaking about altogether 1,000 people. And they do that. Everyone is going to his own family, and they actually kill their own family members. And then they gather the men, and they choose 10 men to kill the rest of the men. And from those 10 men, they choose one person, and he's the one that's supposed to kill the rest of the 9. The next morning, when the Romans are breaking through the gate that was already burning during the whole night, they enter inside, and what they find is actually almost 1,000 people that are just dead on top of the mountain. So this is kind of the very, I would say, famous maybe story of Masada. people killing themselves, okay, in a sense, not willing to surrender to Rome, to the occupation, to whatever future is waiting for them. I would like to later on, not now, this is all the information, this is history, okay, but I do want to talk about it from a spiritual point of view later on.
Welcome to Masada National Park.
You can see the wall that goes down in the valley and goes all around.
Okay, that way I can't.
This is the wall that the Romans were building around,
But if you come back, I got
the
it.
mountain to prevent people from running away or to join the climbing up. You can see another Roman base, original one, down there.
Oh, look at the skydivers. Parachutes. See the guys, the skydivers? 3 guys? 1, 2, 3. Parachutes.
Yes, now I see it. Up above the one of them. For the lake itself.
Oh my gosh, he's landing. That's a drop zone. Did you jump in the military? Did you ever jump?
That's where we came from. That's the Roman fortress down there. You can see 2 of them. We're climbing up to Masada. Thank the Lord we took a cable car.
That's how I did that whole thing.
Okay, so we just climbed now to the northern side of the mountain. Remember, we are in both, it's a fortress, the entire mountain is fortified, but inside this fortress, there it's also divided to more safe area, which is the northern side of this entire complex. Herod himself, all his life lived in fear, okay, that someone will assassinate him eventually. So even over here at the mountain, he made sure, as you saw, we were crossing now a quarry, a little quarry that they were digging stones from, now just behind those walls. So this quarry is used as a moat, basically, to protect this northern side from the rest of the mountain. And the residence of the commander, the officers of the mountain, the officer was just behind us. So he protects the officer who's responsible. He's here to see whoever is crossing that gate, the only gate that you can go through to the northern side. And all the storerooms that were here behind us, we will go through them in a moment. This is where they would keep all the, I would say, weapon, food, whatever you need up here in the mountain was stored here at the northern side. Once again, to control, to make sure that no one is taking it. There is not uprising with inside the fortress against maybe one day that Herod is coming to visit and stay here for a weekend, to make sure that he is safe. And the one beside it is full with helmets, and the one to the right is full with oil, and the one to the right is full with wine and with dry fish and all those kind of things. Josephus describes that when the rebels, the Jewish rebels, are coming up here to the mountain, okay, probably the year something like 67, 68, 69, we don't know exactly when they were able to get up here to the mountain, but remember, this place is already fortified, everything is built here by Herod long ago. There is some kind of a Roman soldiers that were here, but somehow the rebels were able to take over. We don't know how it happened, but when they get this mountain, it's full with equipment for 1,000 or 10,000 people. Okay, so it's a logistics center for the entire southern region. It's not just a small army base for 20 soldiers. It's a center for the logistics of the army of the Romans back then. We're already speaking about Rome and not Herod is not here, but it's full of food, dry food. Okay, dry fruits and many other things, so the rebels have everything they need basically to stay up here.
This is the view from Herod's top deck, so to speak. And you can see the sea off in the distance. What a view he had from this portico.
At the back side of the mountain that was found, it's still there. So Herod had everything he needed up here. Now, as you see, we're inside the northern section, like this hot Turkish mixed with Finnish sauna inside, a nice water pool, which is inside those also keeps it cool, the water cool. So the whole concept of a bathhouse, of course, wasn't just in order to take a shower. It's like today you would go to a country club, something like that. You go there because you sit with people, you talk, you kind of enjoy, you relax, you eat something, you train in the gym, I don't know what. You spend there maybe 3 hours, 4 hours. It's not a 5 minutes shower and then you finish. That's not the purpose of a bathhouse. A bathhouse, of course, it's a Roman concept that Herod brought also to have it. He wanted to live life as it in Rome. Let's go on. When we're talking about the mountains of Hebron, which are farther to the west, okay, west and north of them. And whenever it rains there, and it does rain, of course, during winter, the water are running down east, where to the Dead Sea. Okay, just the topography, the gravitation, it goes down all the way to the east, to the lowest spot. And Herod was using, you see there are two deep valleys there on the mountain facing us. He was using those valleys that would have running water most of the time a year. It can be twice a year, it can be 3 times a year when it rains a lot up in the mountains. And suddenly there is a splash of water that is running for a few hours. A huge amount of water. He wanted to collect some of it. And what was he doing? He was actually building 2 aqueducts from the bottom, from the side of those valleys. And those 2 aqueducts were running on top of the hill here, reaching down below, crossing the valley into the side of the mountain. And then it was channeled from the side of the mountain is still there. And into cisterns that were dug into the mountain. So they are huge cisterns. It's a small opening. It's maybe that big, the opening, but it's a huge cistern inside. So the water are running. Most of the water just runs through the valley all the way down to the Dead Sea. But those aqueducts are just channeling water all the way down. And 1, 2, 3, 4, they fill those cisterns one after the other.
There you have it, a remarkable place where many died trying to defend their country from the Romans. We see the foolishness of those who foolishly gave their lives away. At the same time, we do see courage. We also see that this is the judgment of God complete on Israel for their rejection of the Messiah. Oh, we hope and we trust that He will bring them back into that land. He already has. We hope and trust that He will draw them to Christ. That is a future fulfillment. And we trust and look forward to the day that Jesus rules and reigns from Jerusalem, ultimately and completely. Until that time, I trust that you are getting to know the lay of the land.